We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Hey, everybody. Drew Allen here, your Millennial Minister of Truth. Guard your hearts and your minds. That's my advice right now. There is tremendous opportunity in this country to heal, to right what's wrong, to correct so many lies. And hearts are open to that right now. And it's an amazing time to be an American. It's an amazing time to be a patriot. It's an amazing time to be a person of faith. But you must remember that there are evil forces as well who want to exploit and prevent that from taking place. And I'll get into some of that in just a little bit. But, the title of the episode today, which I had fun with, which is, Mom Dami, who's likely going to be the mayor of New York City. I mean, he is Gavin Newsom, Mr. Governor Hair Gel, with a prayer rug. And it's amazing the similarities between Gavin Newsom and Zoran Mamdani. Both of these guys are complete frauds, and you should take a look at this and take note of this, because it's not just in the United States of America. You can look at history, and the people that come to power, that seek power, that are the worst demons amongst a civilization. They come from wealth and privilege. They pretend to be of the people, the working class. They lie about who they are. They are empty shells that are devoted to destruction. And they will say and do and lie about anything they need to try and win power, to achieve their destructive ends. And, Gavin Newsom was just on a black podcast, and he had his hot sauce moment. You know what I'm talking about, folks? Remember that with Hillary Clinton? She went on with Charlemagne the God, one of the dumber radio hosts out there. And that says a lot, because he's a leftist and most of them are pretty ignorant. But he went on there. She went on there. And obviously she tried to pander to blacks as if she has anything in common with inner city blacks or Charlemagne the God, apart from being Democrats. And, she told the audience and the hosts, who were all black, that she carried hot sauce around in her purse. She's just like the black people. She's down with the black people because all black people carry hot sauce in their purse, apparently. And of course, Hillary Clinton didn't grow up around any black people. Most of you did. I did. And with them, of course, I could care less about race. They make everything about race. They attack Charlie Kirk on this. He points out the media's, turning a blind eye when a black person on a subway in North Carolina kills a white girl. I'm talking about the Ukrainian immigrant, and says, "Got that white girl." And they accuse him of race baiting. So Gavin Newsom, I've got the clip to play. It's just amazing. Do you know anything about Gavin Newsom? I'm going to tell you. California Governor Gavin Newsom of my communist state where I live, California here. So, he's has a relationship with the Getty family, right? The billionaire family. You can't travel around Southern California without running into the Gettys, right? Billionaire family. So, Gavin Newsom, the home where Newsom spent part of his childhood, by the way, it was recently listed for $3.6 million. That's according to the Press Democrat. It was originally purchased by Newsom's grandfather on his mother's side, and his mother sold the home in the 1970s. But Gavin Newsom, so his father was a respected judge, and William Newsom was the financial advisor for the Getty family business, the billion-dollar empire. He managed the family's trust worth billions. This is the guy, there's a movie that came out in the last few years. I don't remember the name. It was an okay film. And it was about this crazy thing that happened with the Getty family. If you recall, John Paul Getty III, he was kidnapped in Rome, right? And there was a ransom for him. Well, William Newsom actually was one of the guys who helped deliver the ransom money for John Paul Getty III, who was kidnapped in Rome. But look, Newsom's parents, they did divorce when he was a young kid. He was 3 years old. His mother, Tessa, she raised him as a single mother along with his younger sister, Hillary, and she did work multiple jobs. And then, of course, when Gavin Newsom entered high school, his father came back into his life, and the Gettys were funders of his political ambitions and campaigns. As a matter of fact, Gavin Newsom founded a wine shop in partnership with Gordon Getty's son, William, who he was childhood friends with. And Gordon invested, between $7,500 and $15,000 into the business. And then they invested a lot more money into Newsom's later business ventures. So, it's so funny how they attacked Donald Trump because he inherited $1 million that he then invested into, his father's real estate empire, which became his. And of course, he grew it well beyond anything his father could have imagined. But Gavin Newsom is somebody who was born into privilege. This is not somebody who's from the streets. So now that you know all of that about Gavin Newsom, listen to his accent, listen to him speak, listen to him pander to a black audience in this clip.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of.
Hey, it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Man, bro. Are you talking about me?
Young YG.
YG,
but
man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms fall off. That's it. Whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else and started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends and you're captain of the team and you're like, gee, and it just saved me and it got me into college.
That's right. Gavin Newsom. It reminds you what's that comedy? Common, if you can remember. What's his name? From Father of the Bride. I mean, it's unbelievable. I get on here and my brain slips here. Steve Martin. What's that movie where he I'm just a poor black kid? I mean, this is what Gavin knew. It's like comedic. And it's humiliating. I don't know how any black person watches this kind of stuff, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Gavin Newsom. Oh, yeah, the basketball, because these guys he's talking to on the podcast, obviously, they're former NBA players. That's their background. And so there he is pandering. And then you have Mondami pretending to be one of the people when, his mother is a famous Hollywood filmmaker and his father is a famous, author, taught at Columbia University. The guy's got a trust fund. So these people they're just wolves in sheep's clothing every single time. And these are the people that want to bring about the revolution. You think they know anything about what it's like to actually struggle? They don't. You think they know what it's like to be actually poor in America? And what's crazy is the very policies these socialists, communists, you can pick which one, that these policies they back and actually execute. Mamdani's running on these policies. They create widespread poverty. They prevent you from having any semblance of the life that they've been afforded, that they have inherited from that which their family has given them. And I have nothing against inherited wealth. There are a couple things that can happen right now. I would hear Charlie Kirk talk about this. It was one of his ways into young people. I was talking to some friends the other day, and I said, and look, I want for nothing, okay? I'm a publicist for successful people, famous people. I have a career. There's definitely a very, it's not that, and look, even where I'm at, my family struggles. I live in California. My electric gas bill, thanks to Gavin Newsom, is, get this, my gas electric bill, which is combined, it's nearly $900 a month. $900 a month. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to me and my family. My wife doesn't work. She stays home with our kids. And so, a lot of people, even the wealthy in this country, are suffering under Democrat Party policies. But that's him and his hot sauce moment. So Mamdani, to get into Mamdani now. So Mamdani was out there, and this is important because, right, part of the Drew Allen Show, what I try to do is give you the tools you need. There are tactics that the left and the socialists and the communists and the revolutionary, they employ. And this is one of them. They always play the victim card. And Mamdani's doing that as a Muslim candidate, Democrat candidate for mayor. Now, he talked about 9/11 the other day. I'm going to play that press conference. And what's his takeaway when he's talking about 9/11, the worst terror attack on U.S. soil? What's his takeaway? Oh, he says, well, that you should see the looks my aunt got in her hijab after 9/11. That's right. My aunt was the victim, not the 2,000 plus people who died on 9/11 in New York City. No. The real victim here is Muslims. It's so insane, folks. But let me play this. Here he is. Let's watch these crocodile tears. Here, if Mamdani doesn't win the mayoral race in New York, I think that he should have a Tonight Show. This guy is very similar to Jimmy Kimmel. Watch these crocodile tears.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
You know what, jackass? Listen to me, Zohran Mamdani. Why don't you reserve some of those crocodile tears for the New Yorkers that get on the subway and get knifed, who get killed? Huh? How about some crocodile tears for those New Yorkers? It doesn't matter if they're Muslim or Jewish or atheist or agnostic or Christian. Your garbage city under Democrat Party policies has become a place that is dangerous for the normal citizen to walk around in broad daylight. How about some crocodile tears for the Americans who fear getting on the subway lest they get a knife shoved in their back, in their throat? They get assaulted on the subway. How about crocodile tears for those people, you jackass? So he talks about his aunt there, and some research was done. He's got 3 aunts, and only one of them he could have been talking about, I guess, as the research went. Dr. Naomi Wolf actually posted about this on X, and it turns out that, this aunt, she didn't wear a hijab, and she lived in Tanzania, in Africa. She didn't even live in the U.S. during 9/11. So we got called out on this for this egregious response. Oh, feel sorry for my aunt and Muslims in the city because you should have seen the looks they got. Looks, at least they were alive. So he got asked about it, and now listen to him playing victim. Again, this is the get out of jail free card for the left. This is what they do every single time. So now he's the victim. So there are 2 problems with what he said. One is his response, period. That he's offering tears for his aunt who got looks after 9/11 for being a Muslim. What an inappropriate response. And the second thing is he's lying.
Yes, I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin, who sadly passed away a few years ago. And for the takeaway from my more than 10-minute address about Islamophobia in this race and in this city to be the question of my aunt tells you everything about Andrew Cuomo and his inability to reckon with a crisis of his own.
The guy's the, alleged frontrunner for New York City mayor, and he's somehow the victim of Islamophobia. How about when these people go out and talk about how Trump is Hitler, MAGA's Hitler, I'm a Nazi? Is there a phobia for that? Huh? Way worse things are said. It's open season on conservatives. You can assassinate them. You can break their ribs in their front yard. In the case of Rand Paul, you can gun down a congressional baseball field and nearly kill Steve Scalia. Scalise. But, don't you dare say a word about Muslims in America. So there he is. And I don't know. I mean, look, it's conceivable that he calls a distant cousin his aunt. My third cousin, I guess he would be my grandfather's cousin was a famous golfer named Byron Nelson. He won 11 consecutive PGA tournaments. He's one of the greatest golfers who ever played the game. I grew up around Byron Nelson. I grew up going to Fairway Ranch in Roanoke, Texas, and going to the Byron Nelson tournament. And that is a hero of mine, Byron Nelson. Just an amazing, amazing man. And I didn't call him Cousin Byron. I called him Uncle Byron. So in full, transparency, because I'm the Millennial Minister of Truth, this is not a propaganda program. I called Byron Uncle Byron, and he called himself Uncle Byron to me. Sometimes, that relationship fits. So it's possible that, that was who he was talking about. Okay. I think he's probably full of crap. But it doesn't change the fact that his comment was inappropriate in the first place. And we still know nothing about this person. So hopefully, some of the journalists out there look into this and see if they can verify that. I mean, after all, you want to be the mayor of New York City, the biggest city in America. I saw something else interesting. I was talking on Vic Porcelli's radio show. I do an appearance every Tuesday. And we were just talking about, how could this happen? How does this happen in America? Well, I mean, I can tell you how this happens. I saw something about the people who'd voted for Zoran Mamdani. I assume this was actually for the primary when he became the Democrat nominee. And, 1 out of 3 New Yorkers is foreign born now. And the biggest problem with the foreign born thing is they don't assimilate. That's the biggest problem. But over 2/3, 60-something% of the foreign born in New York that voted for Mamdani. And I saw Curtis Sliwa, who's the Republican, who's doesn't have a chance in double hockey sticks of winning, I don't believe. He had 12% of the foreign born vote. So this is Roscoe always I appreciate you, Roscoe, who's been a participant in this program for a while. The Steve Martin movie is called The Jerk. The Jerk. Thank you, Roscoe. I appreciate you, brother. So anyway, so that's those two. I want to get into some other stuff related to these socialists out there that have billionaire backgrounds and multi-million-dollar trust funds and family members that are, down for the revolution. And I want to talk about this tax the rich stuff again. I just want to get, we can never talk about it enough, how false that claim is. But first, what if the next big crash is already in motion and almost no one sees it coming? Every major economic collapse since 1929 was preceded by the same 7 warning signals, and right now all 7 are flashing red at the same time. These aren't headlines, they're deep market indicators that Wall Street prefers you never hear about. That's why our friends at American Alternative Assets created the Bellwether Signal. This is a free report that reveals what these signals mean and how smart Americans are protecting their savings with gold and silver before it's too late. You can download your free copy right now at cloutgold.com, or you can call them at 855-803-GOLD. Again, that's cloutgold.com or 855-803-GOLD. So I hear all the, I don't know who he was doing a campaign event with. Maybe it was, probably the New York Governor Hochul, I would imagine. And the crowd is yelling, tax the rich don't pay their fair share. And it's such a display of astonishing ignorance to make that claim, because according to the IRS data, of course, this is not new. Everyone should know this. And if you don't, commit this to memory. The top 1% of earners in this country pay over 40% of all federal taxes, income taxes. The top 10% pay about 3/4 of the total tax burden. Meanwhile, nearly half of Americans pay no federal income tax at all. So if I was like-minded like these communists and socialists, I would just attack these 50% of people that just, are, leeches on American society. Now, I don't look at it that way. There's something very wrong with a person who wakes up every day and views their neighbor or other people with this covetous mentality. And it's not just covetous, it's envy, which easily turns into hatred. I've never been this way. I look around me, I've got 2 young girls, 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. So precious, these girls. And I've got a wife, I've got a family to take care of and feed and house and whatever else. And I live in the Napa Valley. So there is absolutely obscene, doesn't bother me, but there is obscene, to use the word, wealth where I live. And you can never be the richest person out here. You got people who can fly private and they charter private jets, and then next to them, you've got people who own private jets. You got people who go out and take vacations and rent yachts, and you got people who own the yachts. And you got people like me who can do neither of those things, none of those things. But I look at people who are successful, whether they inherited it from winery families, whether they built the company themselves or not. And I never look at those people and say, hey, you stole from me. Give me some of what you have. I look at them, and if there's something I want, I say, what can I learn from this person? Or what can I do in my own professional life to make more income? If there are things that I want, we need, as human beings, actually very little, the basics. And Americans in this country are so blessed, even the poor, because we have those things. But a nicer car, whatever it is that you just want, and that's okay. Shouldn't dominate your thoughts. But if there's something you want, a vacation, whatever else, I don't look at it and say it's unfair that person can afford to fly business class, all their family members with 2 nannies, and go, to Europe, and I can't. I say, hey, if that's something that's important to me that I want to do, how did they do it? How can I do it? What can I do to make more money? That's it. So anyway, when the left is out there screaming tax the rich, what they really mean is tax people who already fund the system. Tax the productive. That's what they mean when they say tax the rich. And, these so-called billionaires, and really they don't stop at billionaires. That's kind of their poster child of hatred and envy. But they really mean anybody who has more than them that they don't think deserves it. That's what's so dangerous about the mentality. It endorses theft. But the biggest, but they're such frauds. The people who shout tax the rich don't pay their share, are such frauds. Because, there was just a billionaire who was unnamed, and then we figured out who he was. Billionaire David Mellon, Carnegie Mellon, the Mellon family. He donated $130 million to cover the salaries of military families who are going unpaid right now because of the Democrat shutdown. And the left screams, this is corruption. Well, how so? Nobody's stopping any American from giving more of their money to the IRS. There's no law against that. And so you have a billionaire who steps in and shows generosity, $130 million he gives towards paying furloughed military families, and the left is upset about that now. So what is it? Do you understand? They have to control everything. These people don't have any principles. They're not guided by any kind of moral compass whatsoever. A guy donates $130 million. You're screwing about tax the rich. They don't pay their fair share. Okay, here's $130 million for a great cause that we should all agree with. Hey, this is going to cover some of this. Look at this obscene generosity from this billionaire. And they attack the billionaire. Oh, this is dangerous now. We have a private, we don't have a private military because what are you talking about? Get out of here. So anyway, you know, it's just unreal, the kind of class envy and stuff I mean, the whole Democrat Party is just built on appealing to the worst vices of humanity. They want to draw that out of you. And I'll get into that in at the end of the show too. I want to talk about this interview that Tucker Carlson did with Nick Fuentes. So stick around for that. But here's something else. I want to play Gavin Newsom here. This is another clip of him. It's not from this podcast, but I want you to listen to how he talks about Donald Trump.
I mean, he's an invasive species.
For California.
For the country. For the world. He's a wrecking ball, not just the symbolism and substance of the East Wing. He's wrecking alliances, truth, trust, tradition, institutions.
He's an invasive species. Now, I've heard, who was it? Who was I think she's an ABC anchor. Nicole Wallace. I don't know if she's on ABC or whatever she is. Nicole Wallace, I don't have the clip, but she was on saying that she's never heard of a Democrat, a prominent Democrat, compare Donald Trump or his supporters to Nazis or Hitler. These people just make everything up. There are countless examples from Representative Goldman, I believe his name is, Democrat from New York. I think he's from New York. There's Jasmine Crockett. She's done it. Pritzker, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, compared him to Hitler and Nazis and ICE to Nazis. It's everywhere you look. And Nicole Wallace has the cojones to go on TV and deny that it's ever happened. Just be honest. Just be honest. So here is, I want to stick with Zohran Mamdani for just a minute, because this is what happens when you just allow anybody into your country. This is Zohran Mamdani's father talking about America.
America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis, this was the inspiration. Hitler realized two things. One, that genocide was doable. It is possible to do genocide. That's what Hitler realized. Second thing Hitler realized is that you don't have to have a common citizenship. You can differentiate between people. The Nuremberg laws were patterned after American laws. Anyway, the U.S. put Indians in reservations. The U.S. invented the model.
So there are a number of complete falsehoods, which is pretty much everything he's saying, and, little half-truths sprinkled in. Abraham Lincoln was not the inspiration for Adolf Hitler and genocide and gas chambers for Jews. This guy's a raving mad lunatic. And this is an Islamist mentality for many of these people too, which is why it's completely incompatible with the West. They want to conquer Western civilization. At the heart of it is conquest, forcing people to bend the knee to a caliphate. And it's amazing too, because there are dozens of Muslim countries, Islamic countries around the world, and they do not allow you to be a practicing Christian. They don't allow you to do anything but practice the religion of Islam. And these people come from those countries and have the audacity to preach to us that we're intolerant. And you're still a practicing Muslim in the United States of America. So for these people, we're the root of all evil. Now, colonialism existed long before anything in the United States of America. How about Great Britain, for one? Before the transatlantic slave trade, right? That's the one that brought slaves, black slaves, here to the United States of America. It was eclipsed by the Arab slave trade. The Arab slave trade, which brought black slaves all around the world, even to China. And so no country is blameless and sinless. But this is the kind of crap you get to justify destroying the greatest country in the history of mankind. I would love for Zoran Mamdani's father to tell us what country is superior to the United States of America. Which Muslim country, for example, is superior to the United States of America? Tell me any country. There's not a country on the face of the earth today or in the past that came even close to being as great as this country that he chooses to live in, by the way. If this country's so evil and awful and rotten, why did you immigrate here from Uganda? You spent some time in South Africa, I understand. Why don't you stay in those countries? Why do you come to the United States of America if it's so bad? No one's forcing you to stay here. It's unbelievable. So Karine Jean-Pierre, she's back. She's still on her book tour. It's not going well. Did you know that Karine Jean-Pierre is a black lesbian? I had no idea. I mean, she's never said that before, right? Did you know that? I mean, I couldn't believe it. She's out there telling everyone she's a black lesbian. She leads everything. It's like, hey, Karine Jean-Pierre, what's your favorite breakfast dish? Do you prefer oatmeal or eggs? Well, as a black lesbian woman, I just have to say that this is what she does. Listen to this.
Karine, do you have any regrets at all for anything that you said while you were speaking on behalf of this administration?
Look.
It's a simple yes or no. You don't even know.
No, because you're asking for a yes or no question. I want to put some context to it too. I woke up every day. I woke up every day very proud to be the White House press secretary. I woke up every day as a Black woman who is queer, no one had ever seen someone like me at that podium standing behind that lectern. It was an honor and a privilege to have that job. And I did it to the best of my abilities. And
Karine Jean-Pierre, do you have any regrets about your time as press secretary? Well, I just have to say ahead of time that, as a Black queer woman, I did my best. What does that have to do with anything? You know why they do this, by the way? So you got these victim classes, it can be it's always Democrat. Only Democrats can be victims, but they can be Islamists, they can be Muslims, they can be gay or Black, they can even be white to some extent. They could probably be Nick Fuentes, who's whiter than Casper, but for some reason has a Hispanic last name. But so they're victims. So the point is, understand her mentality there, right? Because this is how Democrats think in these so-called minority groups. So nothing you can do if you're of European white descent in this country, you are irredeemable because of nothing that you did, but because of what they project that you are responsible for in their, revisionist history that they teach themselves and their little safe spaces. They're inclusionary spaces that exclude anybody like me from participating and bringing some common sense and truth to the room. So she is a black queer woman and therefore a victim, a perpetual victim. And therefore, she can't make mistakes up there. She doesn't need to apologize for any mistakes she's ever made. Because as a victim, she is shielded from consequences and accountability. But you, on the other hand, if you happen to be white or a Republican, because look, you can be black and queer, but if you consider yourself part of MAGA, you lose your little victimhood, get out of jail free, perpetual privilege card. It's yanked, right? You ain't black, Joe Biden said, if you don't, vote for me. So your ethnicity and your victimhood status depends upon you also being a card-carrying Marxist. So this is the mentality of the left. I want to address this ballroom again. I talked about this. I don't know if it was last week, one episode or both episodes, but I talked about this ballroom that President Trump is building. And of course, he's violated no laws. It's all kosher. The Democrats just don't like it because they have Trump derangement syndrome. And you can disagree with it. You cannot like that he's building a space that's needed. But to claim that, he's guilty of some kind of crime or whatever it is outrageous. And by the way, the White House, people on the left are talking about the East Room of the White House or the White House itself like it's Versailles. And what I mean by that is that it is a part of America's historical past in the sense that when you go to Versailles, it's a preserved relic of the past. They don't have kings and queens in France anymore. There is no King Louis. They chopped Marie Antoinette's head off. They had a crappy revolution that resulted in, an emperor and then the modern day garbage country of France. And, Versailles you preserve as it was because you go to look at the past, to revel in what was. The White House is existing today. It continues to transform because we are a continuing democratic republic. So the White House is going to change. It's not a piece of history that sits there. Someone lives there. It's the seat of government, the seat of the executive branch of the U.S. government. It's not Versailles. And we're all going to die, and it's going to happen like that because we're just a mist. And someone will be around 1,000 years from now and looking back, and, we'll be distant history. But nothing shows Trump derangement syndrome like this reaction to the ballroom. Now, before I get into that, I want to play a clip of Donald Trump from 2016. Donald Trump is the most honest and consistent president, politician in my lifetime, bar none. Here he is in 2016 talking about the ballroom. Listen to this.
And every time the top people come over from China, they're getting these big, beautiful, they put a tent on the White House. We don't have a ballroom at the White House. I offered, by the way, Jerry, years ago to build a ballroom at the White House, free of charge, $100 million ballroom. I said, we'll get the top 5 architects in America. We'll get the top people, top everything. We'll have the best ballroom because I noticed they always put tents up on the lawn. Number one, it's not a good security thing. Number two, the guy that owns the tents is making a fortune, okay? This poor guy, he's making so much money. All he needs is one tent, and he charges them so much, he's making a fortune. All right. But I said, I will build a ballroom. I gave it to the Obama. I actually told David Axelrod, a good guy, very capable guy. I told David Axelrod, David, I will build a ballroom free of charge, at least $100 million. We'll make it the finest ballroom in the world. We'll put it someplace so it works contextually, magnificently. It'll be done. We'll have committees set up. I never heard back. It's, it's just one of just thousands of things. If someone's going to give me a free ballroom, I'm going to take it. We'll put it in an area that'll look great. But, we don't have a ballroom at the White House.
So, there's some context for you. This is something that's been talked about for a long time. It's been needed. And by the way, this ballroom, he's funding privately for $200-something million, I believe it is. Barack Obama didn't do anything to contribute to changes at the White House that were actually effective and necessary improvements. And he spent more money and he funded it with taxpayer dollars to do his own reconstruction. I mean, and to my knowledge, all Barack Obama did, his husband, Big Mike, the first lady, what's her name? Mrs. Obama. She created a nice little garden. She ruined school meals for kids. She gave them vegetables, some carrot sticks instead of, burgers and fries. And then he added, tennis courts and a basketball court. You want to tell me where that money went? How does it cost that much to build it? And you use taxpayer funds to do it? Barack Hussein? Did the media have a problem with Barack Hussein Obama spending $300-something million on those renovations? Did anyone ask, where the money was actually going or how it could cost that much? Did anybody do a detailed analysis of that? Of course not. And here we have a ballroom, and he lays it out, which is exactly right about why it's needed, why it's necessary. It's 2025. It's not 1960. It's certainly not the 1800s anymore. It requires expansion and improvements. And here's what the left's reaction to this ballroom is. Listen to how broken their brains are with Trump derangement syndrome.
Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh said this. I'm going to read you part of it. Quote, I will repeat this every single day for the next 3 years. Any Democrat running for president in 2028 must pledge to immediately tear down, bulldoze, demolish Trump's ballroom and fully restore the East Wing.
So the East Wing is going to be torn down and replaced with a ballroom. And the genius Joe Walsh, who's the biggest grifter on planet Earth, is out there calling publicly that if you run for office in 2028 for president, the most important thing to you has to be bulldozing the newly built ballroom that improves the White House and replacing it with a new East Wing. So, do I have that right? Here's Swalwell, who's following. Don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. The most important thing to the Democrat Party, the most important thing to them and their party in 2028 for president, it is bulldozing the Trump ballroom. That's what matters to them. That's what's important to the Democrat Party. It is just destroying anything that Trump builds. They don't think about the American people. They don't care about you. They don't care about even SNAP, the food program. They don't care about welfare, really. All they care about is destroying anything that Trump touched. How's that for a political platform? And this is why the Democrat Party is going to continue to lose, because they are deranged at this point. They suffer from an extreme acute mental illness, and all their decisions, all their speech, all their thoughts are driven by one thing, and that is hatred for the President of the United States. Unreal. All right, microplastics, they're infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week through our food, our water, even the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from exposure. And it gets worse. These plastics, they don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining, leach into your blood. They disrupt everything. And they've been shown to alter gut bacteria, suppress your immune response. It's bad news, folks. And even if you can eat clean or avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. You can't opt out of this. But your gut can help you fight back, fortunately. Kimchi One from Bright Core Nutrition. It's a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA. It helps you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was not designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you, and you just have to give it the right tools. Right now, you can get 25% off with code WOLF at mybrightcore.com/wolf. Or for an even better deal, you can pick up the phone and call our friends at Brightcore and get up to 50% off and free shipping. The number is 888-575-4996. Again, 25% off with code WOLF at mybrightcore.com/wolf. So I saw Dinesh D'Souza just posted something on X, I think a little while ago before I came on the show. And he posted a text exchange between himself and Charlie Kirk. Recent. Because Dinesh D'Souza, shortly, I remember when he was doing this, he made the announcement. I didn't watch the interview. But shortly before Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a deranged leftist with a trans, romantic partner, Dinesh brought Nick Fuentes, Casper the Friendly Ghost with a Hispanic last name, brought him on for a debate. And Charlie Kirk texted him and said, you shouldn't have done that. That was a big mistake. You gave that vermin a platform. And Charlie Kirk used the word vermin. That's Charlie Kirk's word. A word I agree with. Now, Nick Fuentes is onto something from the perspective, just like Charlie Kirk was onto something, and this is so important. This is why I open the show. Guard your heart and your soul and your mind. Guard yourself against this vermin that is out there. Not just Nick, vermin in the general sense, okay? So, Charlie Kirk would speak to college students and he would level with them. And I started to say this at the beginning of the show, and then I did the Trump weave. So to come back to it, I've had conversations with friends recently, and we're actually all pretty successful. But I said that, my heart breaks for young people today, and including myself to some extent. Now, this is not about victimhood. This is just about a reality that we face. I believe that young people today, for the first time in modern American history, have it worse than the previous generation. They can't afford homes. They've suffered from inflation. They had the COVID lockdowns. They lost part of their lives. They've grown up with social media. There's rampant mental illness. The Democrat Party has never been more vile and repugnant and evil. But it is very hard out there to make it today. And Trump's trying to address a lot of that, and people don't understand what's going on with the tariffs and everything else. But he's looking forward to the future for the Americans, especially young Americans. Our jobs are overseas. We've created an economy in which, we depend upon cheap slave labor elsewhere to give us cheap goods, and it takes jobs away from Americans. Now we've got AI, and I've got some good news at the end about young Americans now are jumping into the workforce for construction jobs and so on and so forth. But this is the people. This is the vulnerable population. This is a population that I want to talk to and address more and more on my show and out there as I give speeches and go to different events and things like that. Young people, you are suffering. So Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes can say that to the same group, and it's true. There are unique challenges that we have to navigate together and overcome. It's unfair today that most women have to go to work. Those that want to stay home and answer the calling of motherhood cannot do so and raise their kids because they can't afford to do so, because we live in an economy that's so expensive that both parents generally have to work just to get by. So that's the people we're talking to, right? So Nick Fuentes comes in and he's got a message, and Charlie Kirk has another message. And one of them is good and decent and will lead you to success, and the other will lead you towards hatred. That's the Nick Fuentes style. Now, I want to play a clip of Nick Fuentes. This is who Nick Fuentes is. And this guy thinks he's going to replace Charlie Kirk. That's his objective. That same young people, that young person that Charlie Kirk appealed to, and he put really good information, spiritual in nature, in their minds. He uplifted them and encouraged them. Now that Charlie's dead, Nick Fuentes thinks that he's going to represent those people. that he's going to be their spiritual leader. And I say, no, Nick, you're not. You don't represent me. You don't represent MAGA. You represent the vermin class. Listen to Nick Fuentes here.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. And any boy knows that. Anybody that watches these videos where he's rolling down the street and stuff, it's like, this guy's awesome. This guy's cool.
Beware the devil. Beware Satan's influence in this world. Hitler was just so cool. Every boy knows how cool. You watch Hitler rolling down the street, the dictator, he was just so cool. That's what Nick Fuentes says. Now, Nick Fuentes is a grifter. Now, he's been very successful lately. And look, I believe in free speech. I believe in the arena of ideas, competition. So you know what? Drew Allen and the Drew Allen Show. Okay, Nick. You know, I have an obligation to sit here in this realm, in this arena. We're all in this arena together. And I have to put my own ideas out there. I have to put the truth out there. And Nick Fuentes can continue to spew Hitler's so cool. And we have to trust that if we work on ourselves, if we speak the truth, if we fight for the truth, that it will prevail. But that's Nick Fuentes and where he's coming from. Now, listen to Nick Fuentes and how he has changed his tune to try and capture the audience share left by Charlie Kirk's absence. Here
we had our disagreements. Where we did agree is that he would go to these college campuses and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that is why he was killed. The gunmen that killed him, they hated him because of his defense of Christian morality. Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian anymore. Sorry, you forfeited that. I do not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer, one more ask me anything, without being protested, without being shouted down, without being interrogated about this. This guy goes around from campus to campus in the most artificial and phony and fake way, talking about, oh, God made me very blessed that I control $500 million. Oh, I'm so blessed. I'm so rich and I'm so blessed. And oh, God's been so good to me. I'm such a Christian. Oh, the Lord gave me the Sabbath. I take Saturday off. You sit there and call yourself a Christian and then you make excuses for the genocide of 2 million people? Seriously? You stand there and purport to be an evangelist like Billy Graham? Oh, you're the latest Billy Graham? You're our generation's America's pastor? Why? Because you said the right words? Because you said, God bless, God bless. God bless, my friend. Oh, I rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus. And
interesting, isn't it? So he hates Charlie Kirk. And then Charlie Kirk's murdered, and suddenly, yeah, me and Charlie we're like the same thing. I'm the new Charlie. Come follow me. Don't go down that path, folks. Don't let your children go down that path, folks. Nick Fuentes is spewing the equivalent of the bile that comes from the left. It's just packaged differently. He doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent Christians. He doesn't represent Charlie Kirk. He doesn't represent young people. But he wants to. He wants to, and he sees an opportunity, and he's going to pursue it. And apparently Tucker Carlson's going to try and help him do that. And we can talk about that more later. Are you ready to move more easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? I'm talking about Native Path Collagen. It's made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers It's the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. Which is, found in your bones and skin and cartilage and hair and nails. Native Path collagen, which I've had for a long time now. It's completely flavorless. It can be added to anything, coffee, smoothies, oatmeal even. And its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, which means it doesn't clump. And the best part, they offer amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. Visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your transformation today. That is getnativepath.com/dailyclout. So I had this story here that I just kind of wanted to, wrap up with. It's from Epoch Times. Showing up in droves, Gen Z trades graduation caps for hard hats. And this is very encouraging to me. I just want to read some pull quotes. With college costs climbing and artificial intelligence reshaping office work, a growing number of Gen Zers are turning to construction, a new report shows. And this report, industry professionals are saying they're showing up in droves. The share of Generation Z workers, those aged 18 to 28 in the construction labor force, more than doubled from 2019 to 2023, rising from 6.4% to 14.1%. The share of millennials, that'd be age 29 to 44. I'm 38, so I'm a millennial, the millennial minister of truth, in fact, grew to 37.7% from 35.7% over the same period. So look, college has been promoted, as the singular way of getting ahead. That's the big lie that Charlie Kirk would always talk about. He wrote a book about it. But, the escalating cost of college, the competitive wages that are in construction, the innovation in construction technologies, the growth and potential, they're prompting this younger generation to consider a career in the industry. And I'm so happy to see this. The best way to, force change in these colleges is to starve them of the guaranteed funds that come from people feeling like they have to go to college because of societal pressure that looks down on you if you didn't get a college degree and everything else. And it's amazing too, because when you think about with AI is not going to replace construction jobs. AI can't do the construction jobs. So AI is going to replace a lot of work, and it's scary. It's really going to have an effect on our ability to think critically, I think. That's what my biggest fear is. But this is an insulated industry right now, construction. And so people are saying, look, I can go and get paid $40 an hour, $50 an hour to work with my hands. And it's backbreaking work. But I'm so happy to see this. And I think that this is going to be the effect down the road. And this is why it's so important, too, to bring back these types of jobs to the U.S. Because as AI enters, there are going to be a lot of white-collar jobs that disappear. These college degree jobs are going to disappear because of AI. And so we're going to need these other jobs back in the United States of America to give people work. And that is requiring working with your hands, operating machinery. And these jobs we've outsourced to China, India, other countries. And that's why Donald Trump is pursuing this. And a lot of people don't understand the tariffs. This is what it's fundamentally about. It's about creating a new economy for the future. We cannot live and persist as we have for the last 30 years. We've got to change. We've got to embrace it. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. Let me end with this. Kamala Harris, she's contemplating a presidential run. Obviously, Gavin Newsom will be in there. And, Kamala Harris here, she says she doesn't listen to polls. I wonder why.
Stories of your baby nieces, Amara and Leela. When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you? Possibly. Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
But you've been very clear that it's a possibility you might run again to become president. And in my experience interviewing politicians, when someone says, I'm not done, it means they are thinking seriously about running. But when you look at the bookies' odds, they put you as an outsider, even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, is that underestimating you?
I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview.
You know, the truth is she doesn't have anywhere to go. Gavin Newsom doesn't have anywhere to go. If they don't work in politics, they're not qualified to do anything else. All they know is grifting. All they know is lying. All they know is a government paycheck. You know, and of course, the other paychecks that come from having access that you can sell and getting favors from other wealthy billionaires that you help out to sell out the American people. So there's Kamala Harris there. She doesn't, I wouldn't pay attention to polls either if I wanted to keep, you know, getting in these races and losing. I mean, she could save face if she just listened to the polls and the American people. I mean, she's historically unpopular and always has been, but like Hillary Clinton, she just can't accept that. It's because we hate women, don't you know? It's not because they're idiots. All right, this is Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth. God bless you all. Until next time.
We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.